Hi, this is Melissa at Raise the Bar Wellness. Just wanted to send a video out to you today, this Sunday, this beautiful day. Hope everyone is safe and taking care of themselves and their loved ones are okay. I just did my workout for the day and I wanted to give you guys a message about staying active, even now when things are all uncertain and a mess. I have I did grapple with depression and anxiety for many, many years, probably from when I was a teenager, so a good almost 30 years. I have found and still find that one of the best ways I can take care of myself is through staying active. So for many years I kind of overdid it and over-exercised some things that were going on in my life, but overall I have found balance finally and realized that staying active on almost a daily basis is a part of my mental well-being. Luckily I'm a personal trainer, so I have a lot of exercises in my mind and I know how to do it. So I actually train my kids as well, and we just make it fun. We do things outside, we go to the park and do workouts in our yard, whatever works. Play sports, but I wanted to address your self-definition and what that has to do with self-care and being well. So when I recommend for people to stay active and exercise in their lives, some people will say, well, that's just not who I am. And I kind of want to shed some light on that because yes, it is important to know who you are and to do things in line with who you are. But at the same time, we also have to practice active self-parenting, and we have to catch ourselves in our own limitations. So sometimes our self-definition is actually what's in the way to us being well and happy. So I just ask people to look at their lives and kind of measure, how is my self-definition working for me? The way that I see myself, does that help me do the things that I need to do to take care of myself and my kids? Does my self-definition allow me to be well? There's 1,000 ways you can define yourself, and you don't even know you're defining yourself until you really look at it. So I'm asking people to start looking at how they define themselves. Take out a piece of paper and start simple. Write down 5 things that you define yourself as. So some things are easy. You can look at religion and say, okay, well, what religion do I think that I am, or am I not a religion? Maybe I just believe in something and it's not a religious thing. So that's an easy one. You can write that down. But the harder things to find as far as your self-definition goes is, what do I believe I can do? A lot of people believe that they cannot be physically active for different reasons. For example, I used to teach what I called a reverse aging class for the aging population. So everybody was in their 60s to 80s. And I remember one of my clients, she's a very capable lady, but she had this belief that she couldn't walk uphill. So at this time when I was teaching this class, I was walking up a big hill on a daily basis, a mountain here in Tucson. And I told her that I did it every week and that we were going to do that for our class one day. And I think she's about 65, 68. And she said, she laughed at me. She said, I can't walk up a hill. I just found that fascinating that she really truly believed that she couldn't. So I said, okay, well, next week during our class, I'll meet you at the base of a mountain. And her jaw dropped, and I said, it's okay. We can just do, even if we do 50 steps up the hill, I just want you to try. So she came, and we went halfway up this huge hill, and she was smiling and happy, and by the time we were halfway up the hill, she said, I should do this every week. I don't know why I haven't been doing this. So I want to use this as an example because this lady was extremely limited in her vision of who she was and what she was capable of. And that limitation was keeping her in a state where she didn't think she could get up from the floor. She didn't think she could walk up a hill. She was afraid to be alone in the house because if she fell, she didn't believe in herself to get up. So those are things that I worked on with her, and yes, I conditioned her muscles in order to be able to do those things. But it all began with me helping her learn that she could do it, that she could do something different. So if you're a person who's suffering in any way in your life right now, it could be depression or anxiety, it could be that you're not good at relationships, it could be that you're unhealthy because of your diet, it could be a lot of things. I want you to look underneath the facts of your life and ask yourself, okay, what belief is behind this situation in my life? So, if you're the kind of person who keeps dating someone who's really bad for you, like I've done in the past, look underneath at what you believe about yourself that keeps putting you in those relationships. The I'm not worthy thing is underneath those situations quite often. But when we're talking about staying active today, I want you to look at whether or not you believe you can be active, whether or not you think you're going to hurt yourself, or whether or not you think, well, it's just not me, look at my life, look at my family, look at my friends, they're not exercising, I'm not exercising, it's not who we are, it's not normal, but the only way you can get out of unhealthy patterns is to start looking at what you believe and how you're feeding the unhealthy patterns. So the lack of health in your life, the lack of wellness, the lack of happiness does not start with the lack of happiness. It starts with what you believe. It really does come down to each person. You can't put that off on anyone else. Every situation that you're in, even if it's being overweight or not feeling well physically, not feeling capable, I guarantee you there are some seeds of belief underneath the situation. And the only way you're going to get to that is by admitting that it does come down to you and starting to really look at that. Journaling is a great way to do it, by looking at yourself, by writing things down. Really just start with 5 things. If your area of challenge in your life is exercise, then just look at those beliefs. Look at those beliefs specifically and write down, okay, what do I believe about myself and exercise? You might be surprised at what you find, because if you're not doing well physically, there's something underneath there that you're not paying attention to. We complain, humans are really good at complaining and feeling frustrated and feeling stuck. But we're not very good at looking under the surface and seeing what we're doing to cause those stuck feelings, what we're causing in our lives. That's true empowerment. We feel powerless to a lot of things, but really at the core of it is that what we really feel is powerless to ourselves. That's the secret underneath a lack of feeling power in your life, is not that you're powerless to other people, but that you're powerless to your own habits. You're powerless to your own self-knowledge because you haven't practiced it. If you start practicing self-awareness and self-knowledge, you're going to become empowered. Maybe that's scary because then you end up maybe having to change some situations in your life that before you thought, well, I can't do this one thing because of work, or I can't do it because of this other person, or I can't do it because of who I am. It gets a little scary when you start looking at, well, maybe I'm not that person. Maybe I just believe I'm not the kind of person who exercises or is active. The flip side of it, so let's look at a really simple example. So if, let's say you're overweight and you don't have energy and you don't feel well, or you're depressed and you feel powerless to that depression. So maybe behind it is the belief that you can't be active, or you can't find a way out of that situation because it is who you are. So there's another belief as well. Not only is there a belief of what you can't do, there's a belief of what you are. So if you're depressed or overweight or you don't feel well, there's a belief that is you, that your depression is you, that your anxiety is you, your anger is you, your lack of feeling well is you. And I hate to say it, people don't really like hearing this, but it's not you. It's a condition that you're in based on habits and beliefs about yourself that you've had for years and sometimes decades. So that's my tough love piece. That's something that I put into my personal training. I even used it in my massage therapy career, and I definitely use it in my wellness coaching, is this tough love piece of like, hey, you want to be better. I want you to be better, but we've got to start being honest. Start being honest with yourself about how you've created your situations in your personal life and who you believe you are. We don't have time to think about this normally in our lives because we set up situations where we're so busy working and taking care of our kids and taking care of our houses that we don't have time to really focus and say, okay, it's time to check in with myself. I haven't checked in with myself in a while. Who am I, and is the life that I'm living in line with who I believe I am? Who I believe I am and who I want to believe that I am. Sometimes who we believe we are and who we want to believe we are two different things. And that's where some real emotional pain comes into it. But you're not going to find that emotional pain, and you're not going to find the root of the emotional pain until you start really thinking about it and saying, okay, on the outward ring of my reality, I see what my life is like. I see my relationships, I see my house, I see my job, I see my living situation, I see my physical situation. But then underneath that is a question of, okay, what have I done to get here? And underneath that is, who do I believe that I am that made me do those things? And then underneath that, the deepest part is, who do I want to believe that I am? Who do I want to believe that I am? Because sometimes the real pain piece is between the two deeper layers, between the layer of who do I want to believe that I am and who do I believe that I am. So being active in your self-care and being active in your self-parenting means digging down to that deepest layer and saying, okay, let me write a little paragraph about who I want to be, who I want to believe that I am. And then if my life on the outside doesn't match up with who I want to believe that I am, what do I need to start doing to create that life, to become that person? And for me, being active is a part of my self-definition of myself, but I was not always this way. There were many years in college when I partied way too much, and I focused on schoolwork quite a bit. I did well in school, but being active wasn't really who I was. And I had a lot of depression and anxiety at that time in my life. And not only that, but I didn't have a lot of energy. And I had to eventually, after I had kids and I didn't have control of my metabolism anymore after having children, I had to start looking at, okay, who am I? And what can I do to not only be a good example for my kids, but to be the kind of person who feels well and who feels proud of myself. So being active is something that over the years I've adopted. Many years ago when my kids were little, I started with CrossFit. I went a little crazy, but that basis really helped me get to the point now where I've found a happy medium of activity. I don't overdo it. I never overdo it anymore, which is a beautiful thing for me, but I also don't underdo it. I use activity as a tool. And if you look back at some of my older Facebook Live videos, you'll find some information that I shared about choosing things that really fit you and that help you feel inspired and motivated to get outside or do some kind of physical activity on your own or with people. Now we have to keep social distancing, but I'm a believer that we can still be around people if we keep that 6-foot radius or so around us. It might sound silly, raising your voice to talk to your friends, but hey, if you need to be active, if you're not feeling well, if you're depressed, if you're getting overwhelmed by feelings right now, getting out there and moving your body, getting the sun on your skin and breathing fresh air is something that is very important right now. In addition to eating well, in addition to staying connected to people that you care about, and in addition to keeping connected to maybe a spiritual practice that you have, if you have one. So these are a few things that you can do to take care of yourself on a daily basis right now. And I encourage you to look at a couple of my earlier Facebook Live videos and hopefully find some inspiration to find ways that you can take care of yourself in a way that actually feels good for you, that you're going to uphold. So out in the sunshine right now, I really hope that I can see the button to push to stop this video, but I just want to leave you guys with big love and big hugs. I really hope everybody is doing well and taking good care of themselves. So this is a great time to practice active self-parenting. I really hope you're able to dig deep and find ways to be well and to support your kids in being well right now. I'll see you again soon. This is Melissa from Raise the Bar Wellness signing off.